holding the broom and the shoulders are moving, but I'm not moving the broomstick. Okay, and then maybe go back to that little exercise. Forward walks. Just using the shoulders. Try your best not to move the broomstick. If you're moving the broomstick too much, then you know, you don't want to, you want to try to keep the stick without moving. And then go to the left. And then go to the right. Yeah, another good trick for the broomstick is to practice your body rolls. Oh, I'm kidding. Don't worry about body rolls right now. Just, to me, getting your shoulders to turn on, but not moving the broomstick. See, so I can move the shoulders all day and the stick doesn't move. Now, when you're doing, let's say you do the merengue, you know, you're gonna try your best to use them shoulders because that's what we're working on now. Remember, what are you doing? You are doing this forward with the muscle of the shoulders, this, whoop, and back. But you're doing one forward and one back. Let's go, Vanessa. Let's see. Boom, ba, boom, ba. Yeah, see, Vanessa got it. If you look, she's just good. Now do the basic sideways. Like just go sideways. Yeah, and then the other way. Good, Hannah, nice. Just lift the room a little higher. Keep it like above the belly button. Yeah, good. Yes, let me see, Pamela. Good. Maybe close your grip on the broomstick a little bit. Yeah, so that you can focus ribs. Yes, exactly. Perfect. Nice. Okay, now do a basic step. See if you can. 1, 2. There you go, Hannah. Oh, man. Oh, you lost it. You lost it. It's hard to keep going because if you start rotating a little bit, it's really just forward and back, forward and back, forward and back. Good. All right. Now, you've gotten a little bit of this shoulder movement. Okay. Now, let's think of let's get real technical. I'm gonna just zoom in on the legs. Okay. If you stand up, legs straight, your hip line is straight. Okay. If you bend your right knee, your left hip sticks out. Okay. If you straighten your right knee, you're back to normal. If you bend the left leg, your right hip sticks out. Okay. Now, the trick is to bend the leg, let the hip stick out, but you need to put weight into the bent leg. So if I lifted up my bent leg, I would fall because I have weight on the bent leg. If you have the right leg bent and your left hip is sticking out and you can lift up the right leg, then you have all of your weight on the straight leg, and you don't want that. You want to put the weight on the bent leg. Okay, so there's a big difference between this and this. Now I know you can't see the upper torso, but let me demonstrate. So just the legs and a little weight. So if I put a little weight into the bent leg, it goes like that. What you see is my whole entire body moving side to side. If I put the weight into the straight leg, it goes like this. Now that might not look any different, but what's happening is you're seeing the hip going, and the hip moving, and the hip moving, and the hip moving. And I don't want to see I want to see the bending of the knee and the moving of the body. So you're not seeing my hip sticking out. You're seeing everything else move. And then what happens, you switch and then you go to the other side. So you notice that what you're noticing is that I'm taking a step. I'm not going hip, 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 hip. I'm going body and knee, body and knee, body and knee, body and knee. And it's knee, it's knee, it's knee, it's knee until I start going to the next one. It's knee and knee and knee until I start going to the next one. So that's why we call it like shoveling. Because if you think about shoveling, what do? You put the weight on the bent leg and then you push into the ground. You put the weight into the shovel and you push it to the ground. No one shovels like this. Straight leg. Right? You don't go, oh, I'm going to put the shovel in the ground. Maybe some of us have never grabbed a shovel before. I understand. You know, we got Food Lion, Walmart, and you know, we don't need a shovel. But if you had a grandma in Puerto Rico, I'm sure she told you to go shovel a couple holes, dig a hole for your dog when he died, you know, because that's how we do it over there on the island. But bend the knee, go to this step. Bend the knee, go to it. That's why earlier I had you practice moving sideways. When you do that, it forces you. Move on the bent leg. When you collect on the bent leg. When you move again, you move on a bent leg. When you collect on a bent leg. When you move on a bent leg. When you collect on a bent leg. If you do forward movement, it's forward on the bent leg, forward on the bent leg, forward on the bent leg, forward on a bent leg, forward on a bent leg. So every step you take is like going on to the balls of the feet. How many of you guys can ice skate or rollerblade? You know, you're like whoosh, 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 whoosh. You know, so we're absorbing into the leg, bend and bend and bend and bend. Now, obviously, maybe you haven't felt this before, but I know, let's say, Hannah and Vanessa, who have danced for a while, you've gotten in a gentleman's arms before, and you felt that he had this little sway. You felt that like this little, ooh, what is that feeling? But then you've also felt someone that didn't have the sway. They were just maybe sliding the feet or maybe smooth. And then of course you have like someone that's maybe moving, just not with the best of technique. This is probably like too much rotation. But no matter what, when you feel a good connection, it's usually has this little sway to it. You're going into a bent leg. 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 You'll notice that my hands, it goes to the bent side. It goes to the bent side. It goes to the bent side. So Hannah, go to your right. Yes, and go to your, yeah. Now show me right and left, but don't move. Stay in place. Right, left. Stop right there. Okay, so you're on the right leg right now. Yeah, see? You're on the right leg, right? Is that your right leg? Or are you backwards?
I'm backwards.
Huh?
This is my left leg.
Okay, so you're on your right leg. Right?
I guess. Well, I have weight on my left leg.
Yeah, but if you can lift up your left leg, then you have too much.
Yeah. I can't count.
So let me see. Watch. Let me see. Let me just test you. Pamela, you could try this as well. Okay? If you look at my body and I go like this is my right leg, this is my left leg. Okay? Can you tell what leg I'm on?
Yeah, you're on your right leg.
Okay, so this is my right leg.
Yeah.
You're on your left leg. You're on your left leg.
Okay, I'm on my left leg. You can see that my balance is falling this way. If someone was to push me here, I would fall this way. But in reality, I should be on, now what step am I on?
You're on your right.
I'm on the right. You can tell by the picture of my balance that I'm on the right. If somebody tried to push me now, they wouldn't be able to because I'm pushing my body weight in the direction of the bent leg. So if I go like this, what step am I on?
You're on your left.
I'm on my left because my weight's this way. But if I'm like this, what foot am I on?
Yeah, you just had me knee up.
Right? I'm on my right. See, I can lift up my left. Before, I couldn't lift up my left because I had weight on it. If I lift it up, I fall. So it's not just having the bent legs correctly. It's having the bent leg and the weight going towards the bent leg.
And
going towards the bent leg. Yes, Hannah, that's right. That's right. That's better. Exactly. Yes. Yes, Pamela, good. All you have to do, Pamela, is now try to bring your legs all the way together and try to bring that action down through the floor, which is why it's tricky. But I also say you can tell what foot I'm on. I'm going right leg. I'm going left leg. I'm going right leg. I'm going left leg. But I could go stick the left hip out, stick the right hip out. You see, this isn't the same movement because I'm going towards the straight leg. And what I want to do is go towards the bent leg. So if you have trouble going towards the bent leg, your exercises are as follows. Try walking forward. Forward on a bent leg tends to happen very natural. Okay? Every step you take is a bent leg. Going forward is easy. Now, going to the side sometimes messes up because when you collect, you don't want to switch all the way through to the next. Because when you collect, you got to switch the weight, then go. You have to switch, and then you have to go. Each movement goes through the center, back to straight, bend, and step. Okay? That's why it's so tricky. That's why sometimes you see someone dancing like this, and sometimes you see someone dancing more down into the ground because there is hip throw, and then there's digging into what we call grounded motion. Okay, so you got to then. The hardest one is to do it backwards. Can you step on a bent leg when you go backwards? So you'll notice I go backwards and I go bent leg. Bent leg. Every step that's in the back is bent. It's bent. Okay? So bent leg, right leg, bent leg, left, bent leg, right, bent leg, left, bent leg, right. Now if I go forward, the forward ones are easy. The forward ones usually happen fairly natural. It's the back ones that don't want to work a lot of times. And if you do nail the back steps, so see right now, Pamela, every time you take a back step, it's straight, but it should be bent. Remember, you're stepping on bent legs. And that's the trick, because like, if I go backwards, it should look like this. Watch. When I go back on my right, this is my right. I'm not going to go straight leg. I'm going to go bent leg. See, it stays bent. And it's going to stay bent until I go left leg back. And then when the left leg goes back, guess what? It's bent. Okay? So if I go right leg back, bent, then left leg back, bent. And every single step that I take, whatever direction it goes, it has to be bent. So if I go to the right, look, right, it's bent. When I collect, look, whoop, it's bent. When I take a step, right, it's bent. When I take a step, collect, it's bent. Okay, now let me give you some more tips. Okay, these are just ways to kind of trick your brain into finding the right balance. Let's say, how do you normally count salsa? 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. Let's say now we're going to count 1 and 2 and 3 and 5 and 6 and 7. The and is going to be the middle part. Let me show you. So you would go, start with the right. You would go 1. The and is the straightening. Now I got to go forward with my left. That's 2. It's bent. But then you got to go and. Now I got to step back on 3. 3. Remember, it's bent. And 5. And 6. And 7. And. So there's a movement between each number without moving, just in place, like merengue. 1 and 2 and 3 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 5 and 6 and so the number 1 is when the foot hits the ground. It's also when, to me, you push the ground, because remember the shovel, you're pushing the ground enough to make a piano make a sound. Like if you press the piano key, you gotta press it and it goes ding, right? But if you don't press it enough, it's not gonna make the sound. So you go ding, but the sound of 1 is like a long sound. We don't dance 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. You know, we don't go 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. We go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8. You get my idea, right? You're really using your joints, your knees, your toes, and then we can add more. We have any guys on the chat room? Any hombres? Okay, good. Good. So again, so in ballroom dancing, I get these tips because, you know, I started my career in ballroom dancing in 1999 when I graduated high school. And one of the exercises was to do figure 8s. But we would go 1 and then you collect. Then you switch the hips. Then you step. 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 Then you switch the hips. So now you practice. You step. You switch the hips. You step. You switch the hips. Step, 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 switch the hips. So then you do your basic, right? 1 and 2 and 3 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 5 and 6. Now, of course, again, it's not easy, right? So some ways that you can build it up, just go back to walking forward, okay? Again, most of us can walk forward with the bent leg. Most of us. And then that forward walking starts to kind of get your arms to do this like running action, right? Because you want to like shoulder, shoulder, back to our first exercise, okay? Then backwards is always hard. Backwards is always like, oh my God, what step is it? So it's okay. So what I do to go backwards is I do in place really small. I stay in place like this, 1, 2, 1, 2. And then I slowly just let the feet slide backwards. And then most of the time, that'll get me started. Now, the cool thing is that if you start to feel that you lose it, Hannah, that's perfect. Huge improvement. Yes, yes. So if you feel that you lose it, that's good. Because feeling that you lose it is going to help you feel when you get it. If you're right now like, I don't feel the difference, it's okay. Maybe you just started your journey on this, what we call grounded action. You know, so you just need to work on maybe any of these exercises because you're just starting. But if you've been doing this for a while, you want to get them all, you want to get all these things in. Okay, now we're going to do a little exercise for ladies, but it's good for the men too. Feet together, knees together. You're going to stand on the balls of your feet. You don't have to tippy toe. You just have to be not on the heels. And then I want you to bend the knees until you're comfortable. Okay? I'm just going to bounce closer to the mirror. Now, what I want you to do is think, belly dancer, think, lift up right hip, lift up left hip. Lift up right hip, lift up left hip. And you're doing that with your obliques. Okay? Okay, but you got to bend the knees because I don't want you using the knees to go like this. The knees, they got to stay together and you got to bend the knees and try to get, but don't let the knees go like this. Keep the knees together. The idea is to get them to go up and down. Okay? Now, once you do that, see if you can do a figure 8. But keep the knees together and bend the knees and do that until you get tired. Until you feel maybe a little burn. Maybe in the abs, maybe in the butt cheeks. Keep your knees together. Okay, now stop. You see how many muscles you used to make that happen? Imagine using all those muscles when you're doing your basic. So if you can bend your knees and go, wah, you should be able to go, wah, and do it in the basic. Why not? But you got to make sure a couple of things happen. You got to step on a bent leg. You got to go through the action. You got to use your shoulders. But this exercise, what I'm trying to show you is that there are a lot of muscles in your abs. There's a lot of muscles in your obliques that control your body. So as you're doing these actions that you're practicing, think of the core, think of the obliques, how you were able to move your hips even though you had your feet together and your knees together. You were able to move. So stepping, you should be able to step and move the hips. Now for the ladies, like let's say for Hannah and Vanessa, I think Kathy's on too. Yeah, and Kathy and Erica. You have to try to have hip action, but dance on your toes. So stand on your tippy toes as high as you possibly can and try to have hip action. Okay, that's a little exercise for the ladies that maybe have been dancing for a while. You know, I give them a little to get your ribs, your ab to do more work. If you stand on your toes, then you can't use your knees and you can't use your feet. So the only way to move your hips now is through the core. So it's just a little challenge, but to turn this on, and turn it on, and you can turn all this on even without using the knees that much. It's not the most convenient way. It's just very showy and flashy. Yes, but you're very good. Okay, so we've talked a little bit about like the shoulders, you know, forward and back. And we talked a little bit about how to maybe use this little walking technique to get your body movement. And then we said, maybe let's get a little more in detail. You know, you step on the bent leg, you go 1 and 2 and 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 going sideways helps a lot. If you go sideways, then you collect. The thing is when you collect, you have to switch. And then you step. And then you switch. When you collect, you step and you switch. And then you step and switch. You collect and switch. You step and switch. You collect and switch. You step and switch. And when I say switch, I just switch the knees. So you step, right? You switch. You collect. You switch. You step. You switch. You collect. You switch. You step. You switch. You collect. You switch. So there is not, it's a lot of actions happening. It's slow motion. You start straight and you go and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 1, right? Not only that, you got to use your obliques. Put your right leg up like this bent, stand on the left leg, and imagine just crunching and lifting the hip, okay? That crunch action is what actually puts me on the 1. So when I crunch here on my side, I also go to the 1. 1. That crunching action brings me to the 2. 2. I step 3. The crunching action here is what pulls the hip back. Then I place. The crunching action on my left side now, that pulls the hip back, okay? If I go forward, I place the leg. This rib is going to basically pull this hip up and I stand on it. So basically it's a straight leg. I put the next leg. And I'm not just going to use my knees, I'm also going to crunch here and use the knees. So now you got more muscles. You have more body parts helping this action. It's not just knee, 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 knee. You can, in essence, step and use the ribs to pull the hip up and stand on top. Place. Pull, stand on top. Place. Now the pull action is equal with the down into the ground. So it shouldn't have a height change. It shouldn't go up and down. It should just go switch and step. Switch. Okay, here's another action. This is a cool little exercise. Let's do the basic. So if I go 1, 2, okay? I should be able to, without moving the feet, I should be able to go 3, 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3, 2. So I'm going forward and back with this hip action, creating this figure 8, also down into the ground. Okay, so I'm going forward and back. Forward and back. Okay? Now if I put the left foot in the back, I can go back and forward. Back and forward. Now what I'm trying to do is not use my upper body. I'm only using crunch and crunch. So you see I'm bringing the hip over and then I bring it back to the right. And then with some practice, you can try to get a figure 8 in there. Okay? If not, just work on coming forward and coming back. But not because of the thigh and the heel and the feet, because of the crunching you're doing in the ribs. And then you crunch when you go back. And you crunch when you go home. And you crunch when you go back. Okay, so basically you have one foot in the front, one foot in the back, or you have one foot in the back, one foot in the front, right? Same thing. You go through these motions when you're salsa dancing. The lady's holding the man and she goes 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. Sometimes you get a crossbody knee and the guy stops you. And you go 1, and then you go back. Normal. But what if you stopped and continued your hip action? You go 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 5. So no matter where you stop, if you're transferring your weight from right to left, you should always be able to use your knee action, hip action. If I take one foot forward and I stop, I should be able to go between the feet, right and left, right and left. If I go forward one more step and I stay there, I should be able to continue this figure 8 action, this knee action. If I go forward and I stop, there. If I go here and I stop, I want to always make sure that no matter where I'm going, I'm taking these actions of the knees, the action of the crunch, 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 crunch. I go left, I go right, I go left, right, left forward, right back, left forward, right back, maybe left back, and right forward. There's only 2 options, right? Because we're dancing forward and back in a line. We're not doing I'm not talking about merengue or bachata. That kind of goes a little more to the side, okay? This is just showing you that there's a lot of joints that goes with this movement. It's not sticking the hip out. It's actually digging a hole. using your knees, crunching the ribs, pulling yourself to stand up on a straight leg. Good job, Vanessa. Keep going. Good. Good. Chum, chum, boom, boom. Let me see who else is dancing. Go ahead. Go ahead. Let me see, John. Let me see you. What you got? Good, Stephanie. Kum, kum, chum. Yes, bro. Look, John. Nice. That's it. And then Kathy. Good. Nice. Make sure that your right arm works as much as your left arm. Because sometimes yeah, there you go. Perfect. There used to be a time I used to watch myself dancing and I didn't really notice, but I would go like this. And the right arm would be dancing, and I would forget the left arm was like lazy. So equal hands, both sides. All right, good. Let's see what we got. What we got? All right. One more final thing to maybe get you guys to work on these body movements. Okay. When you're dancing, I want you to think walking. Like take a walk. Go ahead, just walk around. Walk. When you're walking, it's easy. You're like, oh, your hands, they kind of alternate automatically. If you walk forward, they would start moving. Well, okay. So you can take your walk and start going ball flat. What is ball flat? That means you step with the ball of the foot and then you roll to the flat. So I would just start walking like that. And then you got to try to do it backwards. And then you start adding the ribs. And then you start adding the ends. And then you start adding the crunches. And then you start adding the shoulders. Boom, boom. And before you know it, you have all this action that's coming from many different joints. But I say walk around because no one walks around like this. Unless they have hemorrhoids, maybe. But for the most part, that walking's natural. So I want you to maybe try to trick your brain. Be like, salsa's like walking. It's like walking. The only difference is that instead of stepping heel and rolling into the foot like you normally would when you walk or run, you're going to go ball step, ball step, ball through. You have to go slow motion, that's okay. Hands. Okay, good job, guys. Give yourselves a hand. I'm going to tell you one more thing, but I'm going to use a chair. So you can see. Okay. Arms. You hang them down. And you just lift up. And like right in front of you. Okay. Now, I would say for a more relaxed, you kind of dig the hands inwards and let the elbows come out, right? Now, when I move my right rib to the side, that's what moves my hands. When I move my body to the left, that's what moves my hands. So when I come back to the center, you see I did not move my hands. What I moved was my body, okay? So this stretch is what makes this hand look as if it went farther away. But in reality, I didn't do anything. Okay, now, for the women that want to be a little more flashy, all you have to do is open up. So now, when you dance, you have the hands that go out, right? But I'm not moving the hands. It looks like I am. It looks like I'm moving the hands, but in reality, they're not moving. What's moving is my ribs. And if I did nothing but just the shoulders, look. Remember the shoulder exercise from earlier? The hands, they move on their own, just the shoulders. So if you put the arms out, the hands, they move alone, just with the shoulders. Okay? So when you see like a lot of circles, if it's not natural, it's probably because you're just using the bicep and the tricep. But in reality, you're going ribs and shoulders, and it's just the fact that you're holding your arms out or holding them in. There is sometimes a little extra, because if I go rib, then it goes hand, and then I might throw a little extra. Oh, oh, yes, but it's coming because the body is throwing the movement. Body throws the movement. It's not the arms going around. It's ribs, 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 ribs. And if you want to go back to the earlier exercise that we had with our trusty dandy dance tool, okay, you go right. You see, when I go to the right, the broom is more to the right. When I go to the left, the broom is more to the left, because I'm going with the body. I'm not going opposite. So I'm not going to go to the right and move the broomstick to the left. I'm not going to go to the left and move it to the right. I'm going to move with, towards, side, and then if you want to get more challenging, do that action by going forward and back. Because remember, that was the first thing we were working on, is just the shoulders. Okay? So make sure that when you start driving in your car listening to salsa music, that you don't have a car accident, okay? You can hold the steering wheel and move the body, and it shouldn't move anything. Okay? Now, if you start moving the steering wheel like that, and you're on the news, I know you just took my body movement class and you're really excited. So good job, guys. Thank you very much for tuning in with me for your body movement class. I know I'm not as pretty as Jenny to look at, but I hope I gave you guys some tips to practice. I know some of them are challenging, but that's okay. Make it, for those that are a little more advanced, use those more challenging tips. For those that are just starting and you still feel a little mechanical, that's normal, okay? When you first start anything brand new, it always feels mechanical. And also, the best part of things that are mechanical is that there is what we call the breakthrough point. You know, that breakthrough point usually comes after you've trying something, 10 times. So like if you've done 4 body movement classes, well, you got 6 more to go before you start feeling, oh, I got this. But the coolest thing is that when you start getting that breakthrough point, you're gonna start learning faster. So things that took, 6, 7 lessons to learn is gonna take you 1, 2 lessons. You're gonna start picking up things a lot faster. Everything starts to become a lot more natural. So if you're feeling a little mechanical, that's normal, because that's the stage you're in. But you will get past that and you're gonna be amazing. So thank you guys very much joining us on what's today? Friday? Yeah. So what are you guys doing this weekend, huh? Staying home? No, man. I had all these plans to go out clubbing today, and then I remembered, wait, we can't go clubbing. So sad. But I think there are some people playing music online. If not, maybe just while watching TV, practice your hips. Walk down the hallway in your house with bent legs. If you have stairs, use your shoulders when you're going up the stairs. It'll work. The more you do this, the better. Thank you guys. Any questions? What is this? Okay, awesome. All right, guys. Well, you guys enjoy the rest of the day. I know that Jenny was feeling a little under the weather. I believe she threw up right before class. She was about to teach, but she said, I think a migraine got her, from being outside because we've been inside so long. John, you were looking really good, so it's clicking. I can tell. So awesome. Erica, nice to see you. Haven't seen you in forever. Awesome. Let me see.
Thank
You have no makeup on your face today. Like the paint, you've been painting butterflies on your face.
Yeah, today is not. I'm giving my face a break.
Pamela, good job. Stephanie, good job. Kathy, thank you for coming in and joining us. Have you tried to run over anybody with your car yet and have it automatically stop? No? Okay, well, I think if we shoot a video about you trying to run me over and seeing if the test of the car stops automatically, I think that might get some views.
It might, but it
I'm
won't.
down. If you're okay, I'll sign a waiver. I don't mind.
We're all witnesses. It's okay.
So guys, I've been trying to get Kathy to drive because she's got this car that has an automatic stopping mechanism where if it gets too close to somebody, it'll stop. And I wanted her to drive towards me, and I was gonna stop the car. But I think you have to go faster than 5 miles an hour, and she didn't want to.
Oh, no.
Oh, guys, you guys are awesome. I think I'll see you guys on Tuesday. Tune in because I know in a couple of weeks we're going to be doing like the basic fundamentals for all the dances. I know, like for some of us that have been doing like the salsa class, it'll be a chance to learn how to do the cha-cha-cha, the bachata, and we're also going to touch a little bit about merengue. And also, let me know if you guys are interested in doing some other type of classes because we're considering maybe doing some fundamental steps for like Argentine tango and maybe some other things too. So I know you can practice some things in your house. Anytime you practice a new dance, there's new movements, new ways to control your body. Every dance has different styles, and they all have little tweaks to move your to create the look that you're expressing to the music. And if it's smooth and slow, then your body's got to move smooth and slow. If it's like Latin and fire, you're gonna use your Latin hip action. And tango is a real passionate, sensual dance, but it has a lot of balance and control. So we might do something like that for helping out with all the other dances. Thank you guys very much. You guys have a good night.
Good weekend, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.